Welcome to the NHL Ice Guys. It's Thursday, November 2nd. I'm joined by Alex B. Smith and Dana Lane, and Andrew McKinnis should be joining us momentarily as well. We've got a loaded Thursday card to break down. We're going to get right to it. We've got the Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Boston Bruins, rotation 51 and 52. It's one of those situations where the Vegas Golden Knights are continuing a really tough road trip, real tough road trip here indeed. And it started out very unfortunate for them. A situation where Vegas has gotten off to an 0-2 start, had leads against the Islanders on Monday night, the Rangers on Tuesday night, couldn't hold either one as the Islanders and Rangers rally from behind to beat them in those two games. Now continuing the issues where they have down to their fourth goalie here in Maxime Lagacé with Subban, Fleury, Oscar Dansk all out for them. So it's real tough times for Vegas. You know what's funny? We talked about prior to that Ranger game, this team was going to have to play more defensive. I thought they tried to do that. But the problem was the Rangers were burying so many of their opportunities. It's not that Vegas gave them a ton in the end, but there was some little sloppy play. There was, the chances that the Rangers were given, the quality grade A chances, they were able to capitalize on them, and the goaltending, again, was subpar. I mean, it's got to be a little bit better. I know Maxime's in a tough spot there, but it's definitely been a little bit of a struggle for him as he gets assimilated to playing in the National Hockey League. So they've got some issues right now, Vegas. And again, both of these games with the Islanders and the Rangers with these goaltending concerns soaring over the total. So from a totals perspective, we've got a conundrum here tonight. Total sitting at 6. Is it a situation where can we expect the goals to continue for Vegas, or is there going to be a time when they finally say enough's enough? We've really got to bear down in our own end. We've got to stay out of the penalty box, and that was a big time problem for the Golden Knights Tuesday night specifically. They got into penalty trouble, David Perron specifically, and it ended up biting them in the butt in the end. So right now I'm reluctant to play an under with Vegas until I see them drop the goals against, until I see better goaltending out of them. Boston laying -220. I do not believe Dana had this as one of his games. He did not, but I'm going to give him the floor to talk about this one because it's his hometown against his beloved Bruins. So, it's a win-win situation. Someone that Dana wants to see do well is going to win this hockey game tonight. Dana, what are you seeing here with the Golden Knights and Bruins? I'm leaning over, but I'm not going to be involved.
Yeah, I'm not going to be involved either. I mean, look, here's the thing about this. There's a lot of first with this team, and today's first is let's see how the Vegas Golden Knights respond after Gerard Gallant kind of puts a little bit of a bomb out there with his displeasure on how they performed. And we saw in Gerard Gallant's press conference the game after the Rangers game just saying, hey, look, I mean, quote unquote, we pissed away 2 points. End quote. And he was not very happy. And his post-game comments was certainly directed at David Perron. And it's going to be very interesting because we've seen in the past where he's cut players minutes if he's not happy with the way that they've performed. And I, everybody here in town would agree that David Perron's actions at the end of in the third period against the Rangers basically cost them the game. From that point on, there was a complete momentum shift where for 2+ periods, the Vegas Golden Knights had this game in hand. Listen, everybody is on the Golden Knights tonight. According to the SBR odds page, the percentage of play is tickets written are on the Vegas Golden Knights, especially obviously that plus price is attractive. And this is a team that they have already beaten. But here's the thing. Now you're going to start getting into a situation where the Knights are going to start playing teams that have revenge on the mind. And not only do they have revenge on the mind, they also have home ice advantage. So I don't want anything to do with the Golden Knights. I think that goaltending situation is a big deal, and until that gets shored up a little bit, I mean, listen, I could have taken Subban, okay, maybe even Dansk. We know that those two have performed well, but when you get down to legacy and Dylan Ferguson is one injury away from going to from the WHL to the NHL. I just don't want anything to do with that financially.
Yeah, it's a tough one to get involved with, but I believe our Andrew McKinnis, who's now joined us, he has got an opinion on this Vegas-Boston game. Andrew, what are you looking at here?
Look, guys, just strictly because of the goaltending situation, I just have to lean on to the over. Last Thursday, we saw Boston explode with numerous goals, and I think the same thing happens this week, I should say. And, I think Vegas can also score as well. I mean, it's one of those games where keep it simple, not really going to complicate things too much. I just think easily with the, almost the fourth string goalie in right now, thinking about that, I can't even imagine that that's actually still happening, guys. But it just seems like the obvious play to me right now. I think Boston's kind of getting their shit together a little bit more as the week's gone on, for lack of better words, guys. So I just think, with the goaltending situation and how it's been for Las Vegas, they're going to have to win games that are pretty high scoring, and I think this is going to be exactly like that.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, at some point, I'm waiting for the Vegas team to really try to bear down defensively. Maybe they're not going to be able to, or get the goaltending stabilized a little bit, but we haven't seen it so far on this road trip. So yeah, anyone looking at over 6 goals in this game, it's hard to talk you out of it. That's for sure. And we've seen Vegas have that ability to score goals so far this season. No question. It's not been their offense that's cost them against the Rangers and the Islanders to start this road trip. It's been the other end of the ice. Islanders, Washington, 53-54. Washington about a -140 home favorite in this game. Total 5.5. Shaded to the over a little bit, -120. And this is just a game I'm staying far away from. I'm not laying anything with the Washington Capitals. It's a team that's really not played great hockey for extended stretches as of late. We talked about how they lost to Florida. They got crushed by the Vancouver Canucks. They end up coming back, beating Edmonton, okay, but then they dropped their next game against Calgary to end that road trip. I mean, it's been a tough time for the Capitals. Lots of transition on the defensive side of the puck with Matt Niskanen out. It's been a struggle for them at that end of the ice, and it's been terrible times for them in terms of just trying to generate offense and get scoring up and down their lineup. This is a very much weaker, and I mean not even close to last year, a much weaker Washington Capitals forward group in terms of their ability to put the puck in the net and score goals consistently. We've seen a major drop-off for them, I think, with their forward group from where it was a season ago. And as a result, they're having a little bit of problems, not only defending at times, but also scoring goals and putting the puck in the net. It's been an issue, and of course, only exacerbated with Burakovsky's injury. A team that really up front can't afford too many injuries right now. I mean, this is not the forward group that we're used to seeing from this Washington Capitals team. That's an understatement. But on the flip side, the New York Islanders, a team that this is a team that actually at home has been pretty good so far, but get them on the road, a little bit of a different story here for the New York Islanders. A little bit of a more difficult proposition to trust. They're only 3-4 this season on the road. Hard to believe Washington just 1-3 at home. So you got one team below 500 on the road. Washington just 1-3 at home. Very tough game for me. I'm staying away from it. Looks like the rest of our ice guys are too, so I can't blame them on that one. We've got the Rangers taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning next up, 55-56. Tampa -170 to -175. Total sitting at 6 across the board. Here's another team. We talked about Vegas a few minutes ago from a totals perspective, where it's just very, very difficult to make a case for unders right now. You could say the same thing about the Rangers. I mean, the Rangers defensively, it's so bad for them. I mean, and Lundqvist, to me, a couple of those goals against Vegas that he gave up on Tuesday night, just squirting out terrible rebounds right back in front of the net, and Vegas was able to pounce on them. So not really good at all in terms of their defense and goaltending at this point in time from the New York Rangers. It's a big part of the reason why they've struggled to start the season, and very fortunate, and I mean very fortunate, to come back and get the win against the Golden Knights Tuesday night. I don't exactly look at that as a big-time turning point for this team that is still looking for their first road win. 0-3 on the road this season. You know what I think about Tampa Bay. I mean, Tampa Bay is the class of this league, I think, or one of the elites in the NHL right now. You look at their ability to respond to a loss. They lost to Anaheim. It was a flat performance. They had Peter Budaj in net that night. Didn't play well, and they bounced right back and annihilate the Florida Panthers the other night in impressive fashion, score a ton of goals. And I'll tell you what, this Kucherov-Stamkos combination's unbelievable right now for Tampa Bay. Nobody's able to stop them at this point in time. Braden Point is continuing to improve and give you that secondary scoring for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Defensively, they're doing enough. Vasilevsky looks pretty comfortable in the #1 goaltender role. He's also shown the ability to steal a couple of games this year for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So there's lots to like here with the Lightning. I'll lean a little bit on the puck line here, -1.5 goals on Tampa Bay. Don't lay the money line price. If you're interested, you want to get after Tampa Bay, look at a team total over or the puck line. I think the puck line, actually, Tampa -1.5 is the way I'd probably lean in this game. I don't know if I'll touch it, but if I bet it, that's the way I'd be looking. Columbus, Florida, 57-58. 5.5 total shaded to the over at -125, and Columbus a -115 road favorite. Columbus Blue Jackets taking on a Florida Panthers team that got drubbed really and outclassed at times by the Tampa Bay Lightning the other night. And that's the story of Florida. They're a solid hockey team, but they've had trouble stepping up in class. I kind of view this as a step up in class. So we'll see how they fare here. And Florida continues to be an over-the-total machine, especially on home ice. Other than Detroit, a game against Detroit at home that ended 3-2, this team's been flying over the total in every other home game. They can score goals. This is a decent Panther offense, but they give them up in bunches. We saw that the other night. And with out Roberto Luongo and relying on James Reimer in net, it's a guy that, again, is not had. That's why he's not a number one. He hasn't had that consistency. So Florida's at a predominant over team for those two reasons. They can score, and defensively they're not up to snuff, and their goaltending a little bit questionable, especially with Bobby Lou on the shelf right now due to injury. So a lot of question marks for them. We've got Alex involved with the Jackets and Panthers game. And Alex, what are you looking at here in this game?
Yeah, you touch right on it when you talk about, step up in class here for Florida. It's a Florida team that's dropped 6 of their last 8 overall, going against a Columbus team that's got a ton of offensive talent. And, we talked about it pretty much all year so far about how, once they get into a rhythm and they start gelling, they got 4 lines that can really, find ways to score and beat you. And Bobrovsky's been outstanding. He's won 7 of the 8 games that Columbus has won on the year so far. So, at this price right now, I think Columbus is the only way to look at it. I jumped on it right when it opened at -$1.15, but, even at $1.20, even up to $1.30, I think this is still a good play. So I'm rolling with Columbus tonight.
Yeah, I'm involved in the side and total. I'm on a Jackets and over in this game, side and total. So we'll see if we can go 2-0 with that. Columbus is not your typical over team. That's the one concern it would be for me. But they could score 4 or 5, and all you'd need from Florida here is maybe 1 or 2 goals to get this game up and over the number. So Columbus, I'm definitely agreeing on that side. Like, this is a reasonable price range. If I can get the superior foe against Florida at $1.20 or less, I'm going to take that. So I'm on Columbus as well. And I'm also going to look over the total, 5.5 -125. We'll see if we can keep riding this Florida Panthers total over train, especially on home ice, which has been extremely strong and powerful for them. We've got the Detroit Red Wings taking on the Ottawa Senators in the next game up 59-60 on your rotation order. We've got the Ottawa Senators -140, home chalk, total of 5.5, little shaded to the under here in this hockey game. Interesting one to look at. Dana's involved. Dana, Ottawa, Detroit. What's your bet here? What are you looking at?
Well, you know how when you're a kid and you're playing baseball, assuming you don't anymore, I can't even get out of bed, but you used to put the weights on the end of the bat and swing it, and then you take it off, and it'd be much easier to swing. And I kind of think this is the same situation here, where you have Detroit coming off their win against the Arizona Coyotes, and that was easy to swing the bat. And now all of a sudden you've got to step up in class a little bit against the Ottawa Senators. And I think that there is a, in just being as close to the game as I am, even on the collegiate level, you definitely see where, there's a shift in the momentum, and there is a mood shift when you go from such contrast to a team that you think you should beat to a team that you're not sure that you can beat. And I think that we have that situation here. Even with the win against Arizona, I thought Arizona was the more physical of the two teams, which is not a big deal because let's be honest. I mean, if you could say something about Arizona this year, they certainly have been physical. In fact, if you look at their hit stats, they're number 1 in the National Hockey League by far in those categories. And I thought that played out against the Wings as well. But what are you going to do now against the Ottawa Senators team that is 7th in the league in scoring, but they also play a physical brand of hockey? So, yes, you were better than Arizona as far as talent is concerned, but now you're facing a team that's equal in talent and also is a very physical team. And let's see if you can respond to that. Ottawa has dropped 2 of their last 3. So what happens is everybody runs to the window and they overreact, which is good for us because I like Ottawa in this game. But the Senators are 5-2-2, 5-2-5 on the season, but 2 of those games have been shootout losses early in the season. And by the way, one of those shootout losses was to the Red Wings, so we have a revenge factor in place as well. And then if you're going back and watch that game, yes, Ottawa lost the game 2-1 in a shootout, but at least 4 times, if not 5 times, they hit the post in that game. So they were right at it, and in an inch here and an inch there, it could have been an easy 2 or 3 goal win for the Senators. Ottawa was out, of course, without Erik Karlsson in that game, so you have to figure that in as well. And Detroit just is not very good against the East. They're not very good against the Atlantic, and for those reasons, I have no interest in playing anything else except Ottawa, even though you do have to lay $1.38, $1.40, something like that, shot for this number because it's a little bit higher. But if you have to side between these two teams, I don't want anything to do with Detroit.
Yeah, no argument. I mean, I think you're going to get Ottawa's best. They've lost 2 in a row, and that was an ugly showing against Montreal the other night, 8-3. There's not many times that you can say Montreal's embarrassed a team. They've mostly embarrassed themselves in a lot of games to this point, but they were able to embarrass the Ottawa Senators. That they give them credit for it. I mean, 8 goals. Erik Karlsson was, -6 in that hockey game, and he was hounded about it after that loss, and there's probably the worst game of his career. You think the captain of the Ottawa Senators may have something to say about that tonight with his play on the ice? I would think so. I think it's a good bounce back spot here for Ottawa. It's right on the fringe of the price I don't like laying, but hey, I think it's still below -150, -140. That's a good side there as far as I'm concerned as well. Let's see who else is involved with the Ottawa-Detroit game. I don't think anyone is. Nope, that's it. So yeah, I agree with Dana Lane's lean there in that game. Ottawa, say that 10 times fast. Yeah, Ottawa laying the price makes sense here. Detroit, yeah, give them credit. I mean, Detroit's been surpassed my expectations so far a little bit. Played better hockey than I expected, but let's not forget they had lost 6 games in a row before their last 2 wins, and it was against Florida, who've been struggling without Luongo, and Arizona, who've been. You still have 1 win on the season. So let's calm down a little bit with the Detroit Red Wings. So, yeah, I think Ottawa, good situational bounce-back side here to look at in that game. We've got Philly-St. Louis, 61-62 on the rotation. 170 home favorite for St. Louis with the Flyers on the second night of back-to-back games after getting shut out by the Blackhawks on NBC Sports Network rivalry night. The total 5.5, -115 in this game. The Philadelphia Flyers, to me, are in a little bit of have some issues right now. Defensively, Goss, Despair, McDonald, Sam Morin, cluster injuries on that back end. That's not very good, but that doesn't explain why they got shut out last night. I did not expect that. I thought they'd be able to score. I thought they'd give some up. They did, but getting shut out by Chicago, much better effort, obviously, from the Hawks defensively. Joel Quenneville did the old bag skate thing with the team earlier this week. Boy, it got their attention. That was a much more concerted effort from the Blackhawks last night after just some terrible showings, including in Colorado on the weekend, that really got Joe Quenneville pretty damn upset. Usually he gives this team a lot of leeway to be, when they go through times of struggle. He had enough finally, and Chicago responded, and the Flyers were on the brunt end of that response by the Blackhawks last night. Now you're in a tough spot, second night of back-to-back games. Fully expect to see Michael Neuwirth in net tonight for the Flyers in this back-to-back spot in St. Louis against the Blues, who continue to really be, I don't want to say a surprise. This has been a perennial playoff team year after year, but the fact they're 10-2-1, boy, very, very impressive. I know Alex B. Smith, and he's the guy that's going to be talking about this game. He ain't no Mike Yeo guy, but we got to give him a little bit of credit here for what's happened with St. Louis. They started the season with a glut of injuries, tons of guys out, and they've been able to pull through it, starting to get healthier now, even though they're still without Berglund, Bouwmeester, and, of course, Fabry for the season. With him in particular, but they've still managed to plug along, play good hockey. Their only loss in their last 7 games was to Vegas in overtime, 3-2. They've won 4 straight games since then, played good hockey. How about the fact they've outshot the opponent, too, in every game? So they've dictated the possession, dictated the pace of the play in a lot of these games. Tough team to bet against, and, of course, not the optimal spot for the Flyers. Alex, what's your take on this game here tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I watched the Flyers game, of course, last night against the Hawks, and the fact now that they're down 4 top defensemen. Gudas got hurt it would seem like some kind of head injury that he left the game with last night. So, like I said, cluster injuries on defense, and this team's not really scoring that all too well. Going up against this, like I said, St. Louis team, they've won 4 straight, 6 of their last 7. And it's interesting. Like you said, Neuwirth more than likely going to get the start here because of the back-to-back spot. But Brian Elliott has actually done really well against his old team, going 4-1, in his career. So, I wouldn't have been shocked to see if he does go, again and get the back-to-back start possibly to try and shake off the game yesterday. But I think, Philadelphia's in a lot of trouble right now, and the St. Louis team is just rolling on all cylinders. So I went on and played it on the puck line here. I think they should be able to, win this by 2 or 3 goals.
There you go, St. Louis puck line for Alex. Yeah, tough spot for the Flyers, and when you're banged up and struggling on the back end like the Flyers are right now, that's not a great spot to be in. Second night of back-to-back games on the road that Philly's in right now. Good start for Philly. I still think when Philly's healthy, this is a capable hockey team that could make some noise, be in the contention for a postseason spot. But as soon as the injuries hit, and they're starting to hit a little bit, especially on defense, I figure there could be some struggles for this team, and it's played out that way. Montreal, Minnesota, 63-64 rotation. Minnesota about a -135 to -140 home favorite. Total sitting at 5.5 here in this game. And we continue to ask the question. We can't find the Minnesota Wild offense right now with a telescope on the ice. That's a big problem right now. Another loss to the Winnipeg Jets the other night, where they just don't put the puck in the net. They lose 2-1. Can't bury chances. And I watched a lot of that game. Their passes aren't sharp right now. They're not clicking. There's no rhythm, no chemistry, no flow in this offense whatsoever. You got Bruce Boudreau yelling at refs during games. It's not good. That's not the kind of environment I want to lay -135, -140 with right now on this Minnesota team. Not scoring goals, that's a problem. And I will say this, at least at the moment, has it been a product of playing the Rangers and catching Ottawa on a bad night? Maybe, but Montreal, the last 2 games, have been able to at least put the puck in the net, which has resulted in a couple of wins for them. So fascinating game. 2 teams that right now, throw them up in the air. Whatever happens wouldn't shock me. Minnesota win, Montreal win tonight. I don't know. Anything could happen here in this game. So it's tough to call from a side perspective. Tough to call from a totals perspective. Montreal's actually trended over a few games in a row. Minnesota, can you trust them to go over the total right now with that offense? I'm not sure. So it's a real tough one to wrap my head around it. Have any of the Ice guys wrapped their head around it? The 2 of them have. Dana and Andrew. Let's start with Dana. What are you looking at?
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as Minnesota is concerned, you can. I think the general idea is that they're not very good offensively, but I mean, their numbers offensively, as a whole, have been pretty good. I mean, they're in the upper echelon of the league offensively. So I don't want to jump too far overboard and just saying that they're a bad offensive team. I think there's ebbs and flows of the season, obviously, and I think that just like I kind of struck when I felt like Montreal was going to kind of hit and go on a little bit of run and give a better effort. I kind of feel that way against Minnesota right now too, and I'm not going to get fooled, because this is what happens. Montreal scores 8 goals. Public goes crazy. They think, oh, Montreal's back. I'm not going to fall into that trap of getting fooled, because I like to see more of a maybe a 3 to 5 game sample, rather than saying, okay, well, this is what we just saw. And we see it all the time in the NFL, guys. I mean, where we take what a team just did and applied it to the next week, and 9 times out of 10, that's just the wrong assessment. So, Ottawa's before this game, Montreal still was the lowest scoring team in the league. They've moved up to 25th after this game. That doesn't excite me. And they have, of course, they've scored 18 goals in 4 games. So everybody thinks, okay, well, Montreal's a team to play, and certainly you're getting a decent plus price here. But the question is, are they going to be able to match up against Minnesota, who I feel like is better offensively? Still would like them to be a little bit better on the power play, but I think once they put that together, I think we'll stop talking about how bad they are offensively. I'm still not there with Carey Price. I tried to ride him for a little bit and think, this guy is going to really, he has the potential of carrying a team, but I'm also kind of to the point right now where, if you look at Carey's numbers, and we've got a pretty good sample size right now, this is probably the worst numbers he's had since he played for the Williams Lake Timberwolves, who is now a suspended member of a Canadian junior team. And of course, that was a Bantam team at the time when he played for that. That was the last time we could go back and look at numbers that weren't very good for Carey Price. And even in National Hockey League numbers, I mean, you really have to go back to 2008 in the playoffs to kind of point to a disappointing outing or a disappointing group of games for Carey Price. But, lo and behold, this is where he is, and there is going to be a time where he's going to start to go backwards, and perhaps this is the time. And I don't know if this is in a situation, guys, where Carey might – I know he's loyal to Montreal, but perhaps he's a little frustrated inside because I don't know if the Stanley Cup is within their reach. I don't know what's within the reach of Carey Price and his time remaining there. This might be a situation where he might look to go get a ring somewhere else because to me this team is kind of a mess, and I hate to equate him to the Florida Panthers, but this is that it kind of gives me that same feeling, and I think this is going to be a spot where they score 8 goals. They feel good about themselves. We always use the term that the bellies are full, and I think that's the way they're going to play tonight. They're still horrific on the penalty kill, and I'm very confident in Minnesota's ability to get this win tonight. I don't think Montreal has what it takes internally to come off of a game where they score 8 goals and kind of equate that to the next game. I think you're going to see a satisfied Montreal team that's kind of got a chip off their shoulder, and I think Minnesota will take advantage of that.
There you go, Minnesota laying the price, and Dana talking about Carey.
It's very Europe of you.
Exactly, yeah. And the fact that he might want to get the hell out of there, and at this point he might. We'll see, but you're right. He's been frustrated. He's had to carry this team. They carry the weight of this team on his shoulders for years because they've struggled to score goals. Now they've struggled early in the season to score goals, but defensively they're a shell of what they've been in years past. So at some point, Carey Price says, just get me to a team that can, consistently score for me, that will, play better in front of me. I don't want to have to make 10 bell saves left and right 5, 6, 7, 8 times a game in order to ensure we win hockey games. And there could be a point where Carey says it's time to move on, and we'll end up seeing if that ends up being the case down the road. But you're right. I mean, it's not been an easy hockey life. Let's put it that way. Carey Price playing in Montreal for these last several years. We've got Andrew, the resident Hab fan, involved in this game as well. Andrew, the Habs taking on the Wild. Can they withstand prosperity, your Habs, after that win against Ottawa?
Well, I really think as far as Carey Price goes, guys, I don't want to overthink it too much. I think, when you see the Habs put up 8 goals against Ottawa, put up 5 goals against the Rangers, guys, if you're a goalie, if you're Carey Price back there, you have to imagine that gives you a little bit of confidence. I mean, you guys can't tell me that doesn't make you feel a lot better as a goaltender to finally see your Canadiens stepping up and at least putting pucks in the back of the net for you. I mean, as a goalie, that's all you can wish for is seeing your offense finally sparking, putting 8 goals against the Ottawa Senators has to make you feel good. I think this Minnesota team is one of those teams that just, like Dana said, almost, they don't try it to be this way, but they're not one of those teams that's out there to win, 7-2 kind of thing like that. They're a 2-1 kind of team. That's the way that they play. They clog the neutral zone up, and the goals they score are sharp, but they're a lot of just kind of tap it around the crease kind of goals. They haven't really been scored. Their stat sheet hasn't really flown off the page too much. And I'm liking the under in this game at 5.5. I think that Carey Price will kind of just settle into his own a little bit, and I think it's very key that he's actually away on the road in Minnesota. I think sometimes it's good for a goalie to settle in when they are on the road. Obviously, the crazy Montreal fans somehow giving him havoc, even though he's carried the team the past several years. I think it's very disrespectful that he's been getting some hate from the fans. But look, this Minnesota team is a team that likes to be low scoring. They like to kind of drag things out a little bit. And I think that, the Habs can play that same kind of style as well, as we've seen for the first couple games of this season, besides really the past couple games. They have struggled to score offensively. So I think Carey will sharpen up things this game, guys, and I think the Habs will, probably won't put up 8 goals this game, and it'll be a little bit sharper of a game for both teams.
All right, there we go.
Play.
All right, awesome. So we got 2 different opinions on that game. Minnesota for Dana, under 5.5 for Andrew. So there you go. 2 chances maybe to cash in with Habs Wild tonight in that hockey game. And you're right. It's ridiculous to hear any Bronx cheers at the Bell Center when Carey makes a save like he did a couple of times against LA in that one game. Like let's grow up. Let's be mature fans. I know fans get upset. They want to voice their displeasure, but let's be mature. Because really, there are years your team's not even sniffing a playoff spot without Carey Price, not even sniffing one. basically without him. So let's calm down about, getting on his back for what's happened so far this season. So, but that's what you'd expect sometimes from, I don't want to say they are passionate fans, the Hab fans, you give them credit for that. But then there are some that go overboard and they're nonsensical. They're so fanatical, wrapped up with the Montreal Canadiens that they sort of lose their senses. And booing Carey Price is a perfect example of that. Dallas taking on Winnipeg, 65-66 Winnipeg. About -110 to -115 at home in this game. The total pretty much 6 right across the board for this hockey game. And the Winnipeg Jets, I'll tell you what, it's been the team that with Connor Hellebuck in net, it's been great. 6-1 they are with Hellebuck in net. Haven't won with Steve Mason in net, and that formula's worked for the Winnipeg Jets so far this season. Hellebuck, again, very, very strong in net the other night in that 2-1 road win against Minnesota. 2 wins in a row for this Winnipeg Jets team coming into this game against Dallas. And the Stars, they've won 2 in a row as well after snapping a 2-game losing streak. Beat Calgary 2-1, beat Vancouver 2-1 in overtime. And Ben Bishop, again, is starting to round into form. He's had a couple of really, really good starts in a row for the Dallas Stars. And you talk about a situation where it's a chance for him, I think, to get going a little bit and have some success and really give the Stars some stability. In terms of goaltending, outstanding performance on Monday against Vancouver. They didn't play sharp. They got outplayed. The puck possession and the territorial play went to Vancouver a little bit, but Ben Bishop was scintillating in that game. 38 saves to preserve that 2-1 win. You got 2 good goaltenders in good form right now, Hellebuck and Bishop coming into this game. You've got Dallas trying to adopt more of a defensive-minded nature after years and years where they paid no respect whatsoever to the defensive end of the ice. Bad goaltending was part of it. A shaky defense was part of it. And as a result, Ken Hitchcock's there now because they want to bring in that defensive mindset. We'll see if they can bring that here to the table against the high-flying Winnipeg Jets in this hockey game. We've got all 3 of my ice guys, I think, involved in this game. Yes, this is a full house. Everybody's joining in on the party here in Winnipeg tonight. It's a party in the peg with the ice guys. Alex, Dana, Andrew, all involved. Let's start left to right. Alex, what are you looking at with the Stars and the Jets?
I'm actually looking at the under in this spot here. I think it's a little bit high. Like I said, both goalies are looking really sharp. Hellebuck's been, playing out of his mind. That game that they basically stole, with Minnesota, where they only had 19 shots on goal, but he made some big saves. They got that 2-1 win. So I think, like I said, the team plays well around him, and I'm hoping that Paul Maurice, sticks with Hellebuck. I mean, there's no reason not to with the record right now. And you look at that rounding in the form now, team that needs to kind of like play a little bit tighter defensively. Last 2 games have gone under the total after having 4 games go over. And you look at the Jets, 3 of the last 4 have gone under. So I think we're going to see good efforts from both goaltenders tonight. I think this game should go under that 6.
Not a bad thought. Under 6 makes some sense to me. Andrew, what's your take on the game here in the peg?
Looks like I'm going to have to do it, guys. I actually like the over in this game. Look, the fact really is that I just think that Winnipeg kind of has that contagious sense to them. As good as Connor Hellebuck has been, I think that, with Dallas coming in and Dallas has kind of been one of those teams that really feeds off the style of the team that they're playing. And, I think that they're a team that can, play defensively, that can kind of slow things down if they want to. But if you look at their lineup, they also do have the star power guys that put the puck in the back of the net. And I don't really see Winnipeg slowing down anytime soon either with their firepower as well. So I think coming into this game, Winnipeg's going to start off with a lot of momentum. They're going to be very fast-paced. They're not going to go slow at all. There's going to be lots of power play opportunities, I think, for both teams. Both teams have dangerous power plays. And look, like I said, Dallas has been one of those up-and-down teams as far as covering the over so far to start this season off. But when they're going to go up against a team like Winnipeg, I think coming into this game, they're expecting a dogfight. They're expecting a track meet. So it's going to change their style of play, which is why it makes me change my thought on liking the over. So coming into this game, look, we've got Ben Bishop and Connor Hellebuck, 2 solid goalies. So I can't blame Alex for liking the under. I just can't see this being a slow-paced game whatsoever, guys. It's going to be quite the battle for me. And like I said, these are 2 teams with the power plays that can both get the job done. So that's the reasoning for me liking the over 6.
All right, so you got conflicting viewpoints. Nothing wrong with that. Under for Alex, over for Andrew. 4-1 to the over, by the way. Winnipeg in 5 home games, and this is going to be interesting. I don't know what Dana's got on this game. If it's a total, he's going to break a tie here and be the tiebreaker. If it's a side, it's just going to be a Lone Ranger thing. But Dana, what are you looking at here?
Well, it's going to be a total. And man, I'm telling you, boy, do we love some Connor Hellebuck all of a sudden, huh? You know, I mean, this is a guy that's strung together a couple good starts, but has a career goals against average that's well over 2.5, and that to me says great, nice start, that's for sure. But let's see more of a body of work before I start considering you an automatic under. I mean, as far as the total is concerned, more on the offensive side is how long are we going to expect Patrik Laine to kind of be in his mini slump? And although his numbers have been fantastic this year, and he's right on par to have 30 goals this season, he hasn't lit the lamp in 4 games. And what's more concerning about that is that he only had 7 shots on goal. He's just not involved in offensively. So there is going to be a time where he is going to have to step up and be Patrik Laine. And lucky for Winnipeg, they have guys like Ehlers and Wheeler and Scheifele. I mean, these guys can step up and kind of hide the fact that he is in a little bit of a mini slump. And the one thing that I always kind of look for with teams, even like Winnipeg, who, by all accounts, I think that if they tell you or are honest with you in the offseason, I think they're very happy with what they accomplished last year. But I think we talk about Winnipeg and we talk about Anaheim and maybe even Toronto, even though that doesn't apply this year. I think sometimes teams, after they've had success, after not having it for so long, I think when people start telling them, you're on a fast track to the Stanley Cup, I think they forget about how difficult it is to actually get yourself in the position to be considered a team that potentially could win the Stanley Cup. That's a difficult road, and I think there's a lot of teams that are kind of going through that right now. So maybe it's not a team, maybe it's a player, maybe it's, Patrik Laine, or let's look at the Edmonton Oilers when they started the season, their first game, an easy win against the Calgary Flames. And then, then they hit the wall. And so I think a lot of these teams, and maybe it's happening to Patrik Laine right now, he's got to kind of dig inside of himself and get to that other side of the wall to be able to continue on the pace that he's used to playing at. And yeah, I mean, again, let's not go overboard with Laine, but him being so non-existent in the offense lately worries me, but then excites me as far as my play is concerned. I'm not in love. We talked the other day. I'm not in love with Winnipeg defensively. I'm still not jumping up and down when I see Connor Hellebuck being confirmed. Their goals against are okay, but they give up way too many shots per game for me. In fact, there's only 3 other teams in a league or 4 other teams in a league that give up more shots on goal than the Winnipeg Jets. So now they face the Stars team, bringing in Tyler Seguin, who is a guy that is a point-a-game guy against the Jets historically, and since he left Boston and went to Dallas, he's almost a point and a half, or he's more than a point and a half game against Winnipeg. So he's had a tremendous amount of success, and even if he can, get on the scoreboard once, that's 1 goal for us. And look, we're going to go back and talk about Hellebuck again. I mean, he was sensational against the Stars, but as long as he's playing in front of a team that gives up a ton of chances on a nightly basis, which they do, it's very difficult for me to bet the under, even though it's a 6. So I'm going over 6 minus $1.08 with this game tonight.
So you're saying that 1.91 and 940 goals against and 940 save percentage, Dana, will not stay this way the whole season for Connor Hellebuck, huh? That's it.
I mean, I'm going out on a limb. I like to be
going out on a limb.
Yeah, I like to be in an island by myself, but no, I mean, listen, he's been in the league long enough where we kind of know what the book is on him, and the book has been that, he has been inconsistent. And I know that doesn't apply to right now, but again, let's not get so excited about a 5 or 10 game thing. Let's see what he does over 5 or 6 months, and then we can start to say, okay, well, this is what he's matured into, or this is what he is now. All I know is is what he has been, and what he has been an under below average goaltender. And until I see more from him, there's no reason I have to change my thinking on that.
There you go. Alex has 1 point on this game too. Alex, what is it?
Yeah, the thing with Hellebuyck, I agree with most of what you're saying with Hellebuyck, but I think looking at this being a divisional matchup, and you look at his numbers overall, that's the one time where he really shines. I mean, I've seen this guy kill my Blackhawks time and time again, and I look it up. He's 19-8-2 with a 2.08 goals against and 4 shutouts in 32 games against the Central Division. So I feel like it's the one time he knows it's always going to be a big game within the division. So I think we see a better Hellebuyck against the Dallases and Minnesotas and Chicago's than we do against anybody else. So that's part of my reasoning as well for kind of liking the fact that Hellebuyck's playing this game tonight.
The one thing Paul Maurice mystifies me sometimes, though, he says after the Minnesota game, they won the game 2-1, but they got outshot 29-19. He says, I like it. We're playing faster now. That's the way we want to play. What do you mean the way you want to play? You got outshot 29-19 in that game. I mean, you were stuck in your own end for a lot of it. That's the way you want to play? Paul Maurice sometimes. Good man. Really nice guy, but some of the things he says just don't make any damn sense. You don't make sense, man, sometimes, and that was one of them. Pittsburgh, Calgary, 67-68. We got to pick up the pace. We're running out of racetrack. 125 Calgary as a home favorite. Total of 6 under. Shaded to the under here in this game. Pittsburgh, a nice win against Edmonton last night, but tough spot for them. Back-to-back in Calgary. I'm leaning Flames in this game. I mean, we saw it with Pittsburgh last time they were on a back-to-back situation, and they played a horrible hockey game. Awful, without a doubt. Now, the question is, are we going to see Murray in net, or are we going to see what's his name? Connor DeSmith. Weird name, but maybe he's going to be in net for the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But definitely a little bit of a tough situation here for Pittsburgh back-to-back. I'm leaning Calgary in that game tonight between the Penguins and the Flames. That number just starts to open up, about Calgary minus 120. Reasonable price. I think I'll get in on Calgary here. I don't trust Pittsburgh on back-to-back spots. They've been a nightmare in a couple of instances this season, playing the second night of back-to-back games. Carolina, Colorado, 69-70. Carolina minus 125, minus 130. Road favorite, total 5.5. Shaded to the over in this game. I'm not involved really in this game too much, although I do lean a little bit to Carolina. Carolina, though, just not one of those teams I love laying minus 130 with on the road. That's not the price range or the situation I love playing Carolina in, but it's the way I'd lean in that game. Buffalo, Arizona, 71-72. We've got a flip of favorites. Buffalo open a favorite. Short road favorite, a Brian Blessing special, by the way, for anyone that knows him. He's a Sabre fan to the nth degree, and I know Dana does. Arizona minus 115, home favorite now, pretty much across the board. Total 6, shaded slightly to the under. And we do have an opinion on this game from Alex B. Smith, Buffalo and Arizona. We've got Arizona in that, guess what spot that is? First home game after a long road trip, and I have a feeling Alex doesn't like Arizona in this kind of spot. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. And you look at, these are two horrible teams. So it's pretty much playing on the spot here. I like the spot for Buffalo here. Arizona finally got their first win, and they come right back and they lose, and now they're back home. So, it's hard to gauge, if they're going to be playing with high momentum, but I just see where the fatigue usually sets in with these cross-country trips coming back home. So that's really the only reason why I like Buffalo here. Like I said, both bad teams. This could go either way, but I think it's just more of a fade against Arizona in the spot.
Go Buffalo Sabres for Alex B. Smith, right around even money in that game. Dana Lane just mentioned to me here in our group chat here while we're doing the show that it looks like Tristan Jarry going to be in net here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Recently called up. Was DeSmith before, that was the backup. Now it looks like Tristan Jarry has been is assuming that backup role behind Matt Murray. Probable in net. I use leftwinglock.com. It's a very good website for goalie information. Daily Faceoff is another one. No confirmed yet on Jarry, but it is probable that he'll be in net at this point in time. And obviously, that'll be interesting. I mean, with these guys playing for the first time, you never know what you're going to get from them. But again, it's not going to sway me away from the Calgary side because just as a whole, Pittsburgh hasn't put their – remember, Pittsburgh's a 2-time defending Cup champion too. If they mail it in on the second night of a back-to-back, it's not going to shock me. I mean, this team's got nothing really to prove in the regular season. They're like a Cavaliers or a Warriors in the NBA with that. They're going through the motions at least sometimes in the regular season. You get games like that from Pittsburgh, like when they got absolutely annihilated on that back-to-back against Winnipeg on Sunday. You're going to get games like that from Pittsburgh, and I think they could be walking into a bit of a tough spot here tonight against Calgary. So I still like the Flames regardless of who's in net, but if it's Jarry, we'll take it. Toronto and LA, 73-74 to wrap up the card. LA opening right now about a -150 home favorite, total 6 shaded to the under. Tough spot for LA. It's a revenge, or Toronto rather. It's a revenge spot as well for LA. They lost in Toronto earlier this season. LA playing good hockey. LA, though, returning home from a road trip, too, so a little bit of a tricky spot. It's a bet against spot to me for both teams. Don't love Toronto, second night of back-to-back, third and 4 nights on the West Coast. LA returning home, and Toronto might be going with Curtis McElhinney. He'll be in the net tonight. I wanted to put a little Irish jig on it there. So Curtis McElhinney might be in net tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's very up and down. He could steal a game for you. He has done that for Toronto, but he's also been very, very shaky in other games. So he's a hard goalie to get a good read on. But he's probably going to be in net here tonight for Toronto. I think Babcock did say he'd get one of the 2 games, Anaheim and LA, these back-to-backs, and he knew they'd give Freddie Anderson the game in Anaheim against his former team. So we'll probably see Curtis McElhinney tonight for the Leafs in net. So LA not looking to lay the price with them, but I cashed with Toronto last night. I don't think I'm going to go back to the Leaf well here tonight. Let's wrap it up with best bets for the Thursday card. It's a loaded card, lots to choose from. Let's start with Alex. What's your best bet?
Well, we talked about it in detail, but this Dallas-Winnipeg, like I said, I really like this under. I think both goaltenders are really going to shine tonight with Hellebuck and Bishop. He said tight game. Both teams tied right now in the division. I think we're going to see, a low and slow contest here. So under 6 is my best bet tonight.
All right, under 6 for Alex. Andrew, your best bet.
Well, look, I don't really pick too many spots so far on this Ice Guys show with you guys in the under, but tonight this really stands out to me. I'm circling back to my Canadiens taking on the Minnesota Wild. I just don't think, for one, the Canadiens can sustain this scoring they've had in the past 2 games. I think that's just it's an obvious point. 8 goals in their last game is not going to happen again anytime soon for the Canadiens. I think the Wild, they're struggling offensively, but it seems like that's almost their play style. They win games like that, 2-1, 3-1 type games. Of course, they're missing Zach Parise, or Zach Parise, however you want to say it. So that's going to slow them down. And I think it's just, in general, sustainability. It's, for a third straight game in a row, how many goals can the Montreal Canadiens put up? And then I'll circle back to the Carey Price one more time. I don't think he's this crappy goalie right now that everyone's saying he is. I saw somebody in the group, in the live chat there on YouTube, saying they think he's been playing poorly since he had his kid. I think little things like that are a little bit too over-exaggerated. One guy that's you're so used to seeing play on such an all-star level has a couple of games where he's slipping up, and all of a sudden now he's not this elite goaltender. To me, that's BS. For the past 2 games, his teams show them they can score, and I think that means a lot to a goalie. So coming into this game, he'll be a lot more relaxed, and I think he'll make a lot more saves on the road. Book this game under the total 5.5.
There you go. Andrew's best bet. Someone in the chat asking, where's Bobby Bones? If you missed the Halloween show, I killed the bastard. So there you go. It's not going to be seen ever again. Dana Lane, your best bet.
Yeah, I want to clarify on that. It's, I'm not saying that Carey Price is not a good goaltender. I'm not saying that at all. But, 3 of his last 4 starts, he's given up 4 goals or more, or the team has. It's not always just on a netminder. It's obviously on his defenseman and his team's ability to carry the puck. So, I'm not saying that Carey Price isn't a good goaltender. And in fact, I think I've stated that, he's a guy that I want to lean on. But I just think in this situation, coming off the it's just one of those contrast games where, you just got through scoring 8 goals. And so I tend to look at the opposite because I know the public is going to look for the over. So that's kind of my only point on him. And, you have to admit that, his numbers aren't nearly as good as his lifetime numbers are at this point. So for me, it's going to be Ottawa. I have no problem it's Ottawa against Detroit. No problem giving up the chalk in this one. I just think this is a perfect opportunity to cash a ticket, despite the fact that we have to lay a little bit. This is a team an Ottawa Senator team that's clearly in revenge mode, and I think they'll get that tonight against Detroit.
There you go. Ottawa best bet for Dana. And I'm going to wrap it up with my best bet. We're going to go to Pittsburgh, Calgary. I'm laying the price with Calgary, minus 115, minus 120 in that range. That is rotation number 68. Calgary Flames minus, let me just see. Actually, it's starting to open up at a bunch of books. Might get a better number. Yeah, it's minus 115, minus 120. Minus 115 at Heritage right now. That's the one price we'll go with. Calgary minus 115. Pittsburgh 0-4 last 4 meetings against Calgary. 0-4 on the second night of back-to-backs this season. Pittsburgh. This has not been a good situation for them. I'll be on Calgary here with Tristan Jarry potentially in net. Even if he's not, it's a good spot for Calgary to come in and take advantage of this Pittsburgh team. If Pittsburgh's going to have some mail-it-in spots this season, we've already seen it on a handful of occasions. This could be another one after that big rousing win in that showdown against Edmonton. Crosby, McDavid, let down city tonight. Calgary minus 115. That'll be my best bet. And that is going to put a wrap on the Ice Guys for Thursday, November 2nd. We're back on Saturday for another edition. Check out sportsbookreview.com for live odds, free picks, free articles, sportsbook rating guide, all there to make you a better sports handicapper and sports bettor. And also, of course, check out the links below the video to all of SBR's online social media platforms. Give the show a thumbs up if you like the content. We've got Low Shack in the bag coming up live next. Stay tuned. We'll be back Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern for another edition of The Ice Guys as we break down another loaded Saturday NHL card on Saturday for Andrew, for Dana, for Alex. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Enjoy your Thursday. We'll be back Saturday and enjoy the games and good luck.